and welcome back to GFF and Friends, the podcast for winners.
Oh.
Yeah, we're winning. Hi, I'm your host, GFF, also known as Todd, and joining me, as always, is my teeny tiny, adorable little husband, Rob.
Hello.
Hi, babe.
Hi.
Right off the top, I wanted to let you know we won a little award. I got a notification from Spotify that we had our first 5,000 streams. We won like a tier award on Spotify.
Fun. That's cool, actually, for just especially just for that one platform, obviously.
Yeah, just for Spotify. So
Neat.
thanks to everybody that's been listening and downloading.
How long have you been sitting on that info? Because this is news to me. I'm excited. This is neat.
I got that notification on Friday. Yeah. So
Fun.
we are now 5K podcasters. 5Kers.
Just on Spotify.
Just on Spotify.
I mean, who knows what the Apple situation is?
Well, I was going to say, I never check Apple because I post on Spotify and then it RSS's over to Apple Podcasts.
Oh, then maybe they do count that then. If it's just kind of like echoing through. I don't know how that works.
I don't know if it counts the RSS feeds.
I don't know.
But it's so funny how many listeners we get of the podcast on Apple and Spotify versus viewers on YouTube. We consistently get, I mean, now it's like slowly creeping up, but everything rounds off to about 100 views on YouTube per episode. But then we get thousands of listens on podcasts, and I honestly thought more people would watch.
Well, I have a face for radio.
You do. Teeny tiny and adorable.
Well, and a more youthful voice than face.
Correct. But I just thought people in general would prefer to watch a podcast because I watch so many podcasts.
Although, I mean, this week there is a visual reward, though.
There is. If you're watching on YouTube.
Did I spoil that?
Not at all. I mean, that's what we're going to talk about today, but I was going to wait to get into it.
Well, I mean, at least, just, hey, at least there's a visual thing if you want to check out the YouTube stream for a second.
We're literally going to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
We went to see Beetlejuice, and it was such a delight. Yeah. It was so good.
Which, by the way, can we just talk about how great that name is? Like,
right?
Sorry, I mean, I don't know how much there is to say, but
I love when they do that with sequels and stuff, when they like
do an in-world kind of
jokey joke.
Yeah, like the fact that they leaned into the structure of that. Like, I mean,
even like Too Fast, Too Furious. I loved that. I think that's funny.
But it's funny. But the problem is they
never watched a single movie of that franchise.
The problem is that they lost the structure, though, because I kept making jokes like 3 Fast, 3 Furious, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But
you love to add an electric boogaloo to everything,
right? Well, and also they missed the obvious one for that one. It should have been Fast 10. Your seatbelts for Fast 10.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, like that. That is the obvious one, but it's fine.
I mean, it's not the smartest franchise.
Yeah. Well, but what was it? We just because we discovered a new funny joke though for a second in second entry in a franchise. Instead of being like Break Into Electric Boogaloo, now we've discovered the Howling 2. Your sister is a werewolf. Like, that is not a tagline. That, I believe, is the second part of the title.
That almost feels like not a Lost in Translation kind of byline, but it feels like when they translate a movie title into another language.
Right. Well, it's right. When I was in Costa Rica for like a school trip when I was a teenager, I made a point to stop in a video rental store because I was that kind of teenager. And I was so excited about seeing like locally translated movie names because I had no idea that they were so different. But I mean, the one that I remember, and also my Spanish was terrible at the time. I mean, it's not better now. Let's be real. But it wasn't good. And I remember the one that I saw made sense because it was very idiomatic in America. It was American Pie, and it was called Tu Primera Vez, which translates to your first time. Not a lot of jokey joke in there, and I don't think there's a lot of double entendre or anything. It's just very literal. But they also had Disney's Dinosaur, which was dinosaur. So
great.
Like some were exactly there, but it was cool.
The best are like the Japanese translations when like I don't know any of them.
I know
so
one.
I don't know any of them. But my favorite are like when it's like Kill Bill, and then in Japanese it's like woman goes to kill ex-husband as bride.
I believe this. Maybe this was for Chinese audiences, but I do believe it was for an Eastern audience. As good as it gets. The local name is Mr. Catpea.
Really?
I believe so. I do not think that is an old wives' tale. I think that is a literal.
That feels like
thing.
when people get Chinese character tattoos,
right?
And then someone's like
strength.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, but if you put those symbols next to each other, it means cat poop turd,
right? Well, it's like Ariana Grande. She got 7 in rings, which individually
own.
7 and rings.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you put them together, it becomes barbecue grill, I believe.
So funny.
So yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, we went to see Beetlejuice, and our visual aid here today on YouTube is that I got the popcorn buckets. I went all the way over to Redmond, which took about 45 minutes if you watched my TikToks, to get these Regal Cinema exclusive popcorn buckets. And everybody's like, where's the popcorn bucket? I have the Beetlejuice tombstone and the handbook for the recently deceased. That is just a square tin that just opens like a book.
This thing makes a ton of sense as a popcorn
and you
vessel.
can just fill it with popcorn. And it's actually really smart.
Yeah, it's a very shallow, but like lots of openings. This is a good family popcorn vessel, like for somebody sitting in the middle of people reaching toward you, I would say.
And I'm strongly considering transferring all of our What's Our Orders into that and using that as our What's Our Order box.
It is kind of fun to have like a more specific franchise vessel instead of like a brand.
Yeah, and it's made for food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's layers. It goes deep. But also, we don't have that many left because I do have an announcement to make at some point in this episode. I don't know when we'll get to it, but I will be making an announcement in this episode about something that's coming up soon.
I am also along for the ride on all these surprises, by the way.
Well, you very much know this one. But then the tombstone, the Beetlejuice tombstone, opens in the back. There's like the tiniest little door that literally holds probably 1 cup of popcorn.
And probably gets pieces stuck everywhere within it.
Like, these were $30 a piece, and they came with popcorn. I turned it down because I went at 11 o'clock in the morning just to get these. I did not see the movie at that time because I got these on like Tuesday. I went specifically to the movie theater just to get these. But the tombstone came with a cup. And he was like, do you want the soda? And I was like, I actually will take the soda. Thank you.
Well, it's funny.
I should have grabbed the cup. It's upstairs in the kitchen.
It's very cute. It's that sort of black and white pinstripe with the bioexorcism sort of flyer.
Yeah, and if you're like following along with the popcorn bucket trend, each theater chain has its own version of things. And I want to say AMC, their cup is literally like a 3D rubber like body of Beetlejuice's suit and like little cockroaches and stuff, but it's like rubber and it's heavy duty.
Wow.
This one has Beetlejuice's suit and lapel and stuff, and then the flyer, and then all of the cups come with an optional like topper, I think they call them.
Yeah, they're like usually little characters or signs or symbols.
Yeah, you can change them out.
They're interchangeable little figures.
I got the, it doesn't light up, unfortunately. Not like this tombstone, which lights up, but it doesn't light up, but it is the light up Beetlejuice sign that points at his tombstone in the movie. That's the topper I picked, but you could have gotten like Bob's shrunken head. You could have got a Beetlejuice head. You could have gotten a mini tombstone. Oh, and a sandworm. And then, they also did another bucket, which is a coiled up sandworm, which looks amazing, and I desperately want it, but they did very limited quantities of that, and they only released those on the Friday of the movie. They weren't available pre-order yet. So
well, and as much as I hate the fever of a new collectible, I have to say some of these are really fun, and especially like the unusual shapes and sizes of them. Like they actually have other uses around the home, which is neat because like seriously, the tombstone, that's Halloween decor now.
Yeah.
I guess with a secret, thing to store, I don't know.
You could put, it could be a hide-a-key.
Seriously,
also,
like,
the tombstone weighs a ton. It is like thick, heavy-duty plastic.
I'm surprised it doesn't make a noise. Like, seriously,
right?
It's like
it should
one
have a speaker
step away.
built in it somewhere.
It feels like this is like a good target piece
it's
of decor.
Very heavy, very durable.
And this is just a practical vessel for other shit. Like, we actually have another handbook for the recently deceased that the like 4K Blu-ray came in that we use for
which
other
is like
stuff.
actual book size.
Yeah, and so like now we have multiples, which are great. I'm down for as many versions of this as we can possibly get.
I love a hide-a-book.
And like what the alien head that we got for Alien Romulus that is also a terrible popcorn bucket. I can't imagine using it.
It is a full-on xenomorph head,
so
about the size of my forearm.
But to get your hand in there, I imagine you have to have like a baby hand, which is
Whoa.
completely age inappropriate for
you
this
gotta
movie.
have a tiny hand to get into the tiny mouth,
right? And so I filled it with individually wrapped wintergreen lifesavers, and so now the tiny mouth is super minty.
I love you said that like the possibility of unwrapped wintergreens exists.
Well, yeah, I guess they always come individually wrapped. But I guess for anyone that is like, just like, maybe for someone who doesn't know, they might be like, ew, no, it's sanitary.
You just love a visual description. You're painting a picture.
But also, like, the cool thing is those things smell so intensely through anything that, like, if you literally lift up the alien bust and kind of put the tiny mouth to your face, very minty.
It was almost a whole, like, Costco bag, or like
almost, yeah,
the biggest bag of wintergreens lifesavers you can get, and it was almost it almost accepted the entire bag.
Yes.
So it is now an air freshener. When you walk past it, you get a full cloud of wintergreen.
But like the biggest regret though that I have there on the collectible popcorn thing is that we weren't able to get like the Alien Romulus one that I really wanted, which was the clear
containment vessel.
Yeah, containment vessel that has a little face hugger on it and it lights up. Yeah. And I wanted to put like dog treats in it. But it's funny, like every single time I see these, I'm always like, well, I already have an idea of what I want to do with it when I get it home.
Yeah.
Like, and it's even like what our Taylor Swift Eras Tour bucket, we have two. One is for popcorn still, and the other though is a really, really, really good compost bucket.
Yeah, and I bought the little like veggie plastic green bags,
the liners,
the little liners. So yeah, now we have a very convenient, because before we used a Tron bucket that was just disintegrating.
Yeah,
it was from when Tron came out. What, 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
It was for the second Tron Legacy, which is from like the El Capitan, I think, is where we got that bucket.
Yeah, almost 20 years ago, and you had it before. It was yours.
Yeah,
and we used it, and it chipped. It was plastic.
The handle broke off.
The handle broke off, and then it chipped, and then it just started cracking and chipping, and by the end, it was bad.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Thank you for your service.
So we specifically went to see a movie. I forget which movie, but we went so I could get the Taylor Swift 10 bucket.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see the Eras Tour in theaters.
No.
But we went specifically to get the bucket, and then when we came out of that movie, people had, like, you had to pay extra for the bucket, but it was only like $5. These were like $30, but the Taylor one was like $5.
And they're shaped like a normal popcorn bucket. So I get that they just feel like a premium
but
item.
But they were 10, they're metal. They're kind of heavy duty.
Like, they were premium.
And people there was like a stack of them by the trash can. Like, people just left them.
Yeah. So
and I was like, you had to pay extra for that.
Yeah. So we bought one and then we took one.
Yeah.
Because like they were just everywhere. And
because I wanted to use it for the compost bin, but then I also wanted one because we make popcorn at home a lot. We're the popcorn kings.
So
Toddville Robinbacher. See, it works. You can fit anything.
I even got the right button. I was worried for a second there.
But yeah, we are a massive popcorn home, and I love what movies are doing with popcorn buckets now. I love like merch tie-in. I love merch. It's just fun.
Even like some of the Disney popcorn buckets from Disneyland, I really think were very cool. There's no way I was going to be able to participate in that sort of collectible fad
at this point.
But like, I mean, there was one of like I think like the three-eyed alien from Toy Story that I thought was so cute. And so they've had some cool ones, but like a lot of them are like even like the Imperial Walker.
Yeah.
Like some of them are very cool, but they're a little impractical.
At least when they started doing it at Disneyland, the cool thing about Disneyland was that they were designed to hold the cardboard popcorn thing. So like, which this Tombstone could be the same design. No, it's too small for that. But if you go to Disneyland, like the traditional old-timey, just tall, square, skinny popcorn boxes.
Yeah.
And originally all the popcorn buckets at Disneyland were designed so you could just flip the lid and then put the popcorn, the little cardboard thing
that makes sense.
And that's like kind of a genius design. It keeps them clean. Like they don't get all buttery and gross.
Yeah. And also if you want to refill it, just whoop, in goes another one.
And if you get these at a movie theater, they give you popcorn in a bag. Like they don't put the popcorn in it when they sell it to you. So it's kind of obviously like a silly little collectible that no one's really using practically.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I think it's very cool, and I'm glad they're not doing it for every single movie. Like, my god,
they're just doing it for blockbusters.
Yeah, can you imagine if I was trying to think of like just any old movie, just little thing. But yeah, can you imagine if they did it for like the sequel to Book Club?
I mean, I would like to have a Remains of the Day lunchbox. And that's
I feel like that's when you do like the super weird merch. Like because like one of the things
that's a deep cut. If you're a true OG, you get what I just said.
Like one of the jokes that or the things that I always used to think was like super weird was whenever a touring act would do a coffee mug. Like that always felt like the weird merch to me. Like obviously, like
a concert?
Yeah, like a ceramic handled coffee mug.
That's hilarious.
Like, and that always felt like the weirdest thing because like it's such a rigid item that you can't really do anything with. It has no practical place at a concert. You can't put it on like a t-shirt. It's not like strong enough like a thermos. It's not music related. Like there's something so odd about it. And I think the first time I ever saw it was when like Janet Jackson she was touring Demita Joe, and I was like, oh, she feels like a woman of a certain age, and she's selling coffee mugs. And then my sister toured with Josh Groban, so we bought her a Josh Groban mug because I thought that was hilarious.
Well, those kind of accessories are for me because I can't wear the clothes. Like they never make the t-shirts in my size, so like that's a total bust. So I'm either posters or silly merch, and like silly merch is my favorite.
Well, and it is like a durable, usable, like kind of daily item if you want to think about it. It's nice because I mean,
the only thing. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the only thing with a coffee mug is that you can literally buy them at Walmart.
Yeah, well, it's like I love it. I love a novelty gag that's kind of leaning into the thing. Like one of my favorites was for Arctic Monkeys, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, which was like hotel themed. They did those sort of diamond plastic, oversized hotel keychains.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got some of those.
Yeah, I don't have enough keys to warrant the set that I bought.
Don't have a gun, let alone several guns, to necessitate a rack.
What would I do with a gun rack? But yeah, it's like, so at this point, keychains I need to stop buying because I have enough of those for my keys. But I did think that was a fun piece of thing. Anyway, We got distracted. Beetlejuice was super fun.
It's so fun. Obviously, the first one is the best, but this is a great sequel. I think they did a really good job with all the jokes and updating everything. Also, I watched the first Beetlejuice the night before we went to see it, and it holds up. And do you know how hard it is to find a movie from the 80s that completely holds up? Not a single inappropriate joke, nothing that's like
completely
un-PC in it. Like it's completely.
I mean, Beetlejuice is not PC in the first place, but there's nothing that's like.
But nothing that's un-PC.
Yeah, nothing that's expired.
It's all about death and maybe like sexual innuendo. But like it's not bad.
Nothing that's become like a new slur in the last 35 years or anything. Yeah, okay.
And the first one holds up and is so hilarious, and the second one is just as funny. I scream laughed a couple times. I like cried a couple times because it was so, I got the nostalgic feels watching it, and it was so, I don't know, touching at certain points, and it was just nice to see all those people together. The way they handled like problematic actors that could not come back for this sequel was so funny. Like I guess Delia's dad. No, Delia's the wife.
Delia's husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lydia's dad.
Yeah. He is kind of a canceled actor, so they couldn't bring him back. But how they did bring him back was hilarious and such a good choice.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I remember like seeing the movie. I'm not nearly as emotive as Todd is. And so I was watching it and I enjoyed it, which I have not enjoyed a Tim Burton directed movie in a while. So I have to say it was nice to see that.
Well, much like your shirt, which says doom and gloom, you yourself are doom and gloom.
It's true. But no, I mean, yeah, Beetlejuice is one of my absolute favorite movies ever. And once I kind of parked my millennial nostalgia and expectations of what I thought a sequel to Beetlejuice would be, it's actually a ton of fun. It's messy. But it's and it's funny because I feel like I was talking to my mom about it recently, and I was saying like Beetlejuice is a really great story that has some cool laughs and some really great visuals, and it's a unique take on a story with a lot of comedy in it. And Beetlejuice is a comedy movie that's building on that world, and it's a very different kind of movie, but like I enjoyed it so much, and honestly it's kind of watching everybody do what they do best and just having a good time. And if you just accept it at that, like I thought it was
so fun. And
especially like, the longer it's like been since seeing it, the more I'm warming up to it even more.
Yeah. And my favorite part was that Tim Burton's movies have been almost 100% computer animated in the past 15 years. And I don't know if it was his choice or his producers were like, you got to bring back practical. You got to do claymation. You got to do, practical masks and hoods, and all the dead people, on the other side
makeup and prosthetics
have to be wearing like Jim Henson style animatronics and stuff. So, and they did that and they leaned into that, and it was so perfect.
And I mean, and there is some CG in it, obviously, but like, and also though, even if they decided to go CG for stuff like say sandworms, they made a choice to at least render them in a claymation style.
Yeah,
like it's very thoughtful. And
if it's not claymation, the computer animation made it look so real like claymation. I was like, insane.
It's very thoughtful, modern Tim Burton production, which I will say, I think he got a little reckless with Tim Burton production for a while.
Yeah.
And so it's nice. It's
Well, that was my takeaway from the Alice in Wonderland movies. Like when we went to see them, I was like, that was a cartoon. Like I know real people were in that, but that movie was mostly a cartoon.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's funny because I think, for a while I was so taken by movies that were so visually transformative and, like a new thing that I think I might have really appreciated that at the time. But I think I just didn't care for like the story and stuff. Every time you do that, it makes me think that like my breath is terrible.
Well, I'm also really hot.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I saw a funny thread that was like, if Tim Burton had made this movie 10 years ago, it would have been completely CG, and something happened in the zeitgeist to wake him up to using practical effects. And it was nice. And that gave a lot of people jobs, like I know a lot of people work in the rendering community, but also it's nice to have people on set doing in-camera stuff again, because that rarely happens anymore.
Well, and even then, practical effects still need compositing to get it into a digital, workflow now. So,
but it's nice to have like artisans working again, just like on Alien Romulus. He had a bunch of the original.
He brought the original creature team back from a lot of the earlier movies.
Which I don't remember what production company it was, but he had like the original people that did the original Xenomorphs and facehuggers and stuff come back and do them again. And you can tell, like in Romulus, you can tell the facehuggers are practical little animatronic robots, but they look, it's fun. It's like nice to see that again. Not everything has to look realistic, because computer animation, especially adding special effects and stuff, has still never gotten to the point, even like James Cameron and doing Avatar and stuff, you can still tell it's rendered, even though like James Cameron's, I would say, is at the top of the heap, and looking at Avatar, you're like, wow, that shit looks really real, but you can still tell there's just like a 2% thing in your brain that's like, oh, it moves too fast, it's the wrong reflection, the lighting's off, like you can always tell a little bit when it's CG.
I mean, as somebody who just plays obviously a ton of video games and watches a lot of computer generated imagery, it's for me it's always like I can 80% tell it's CG usually, and there's usually like one shot that's a very short shot that I'm always like, oh wow, that one shot looked photoreal, and then we go right back into CG, like uncanny valley. But there's often like one little cutaway where I'm like, wow, and it's usually something where like they do a crazy focal pull or some shit where it just looks very real and very in camera. But it's my I want to say my bullshit detector, but like my CG detector is pretty sharp. But often I tend to just get very impressed, but also very self-aware or very aware of whenever something kind of surprises me or convinces me.
A lot of and it's also distracting too, because when it does look so real, like in Avatar, like the water looked really real, a lot of the sea creatures looked real for like a second, and that takes you out of it, because then you're like, wow, that almost looks real, like your brain is like going to the animation part of it because they did such a good job, whereas the practical effects, you're just like, oh, that's fun, that's a face hugger.
Well, and like it's funny, I mean, you've heard me go on and on about Avatar and how I just didn't care, but like the weirdest thing about Avatar is that like all of the stuff that's CG, like I forgot that it was CG technically, but also like if I watch a CG movie, I forget that it's CG. Like it didn't need to be motion captured. It didn't need to be shot live. It didn't need to be any of this tech. It could have just been a CG movie.
It's like the Planet of the Apes that we watched. There's apparently a director's cut where you can watch the monkey, the chimpanzees and gorillas and stuff unrendered as the actors in mocap suits, which I really want to watch, but also like, why not just animate the whole thing? Why do you have to have an actor doing mocap? Why can't you just have them do voiceover?
Well, actually, it's funny. I understand the mocap, like in order to capture the stuff. I just don't think that you need to present a version that is shot the same with the same camera angles, because the whole point of mocap is that you're capturing in 360 degrees. You're capturing the full motion of how someone moves, and then you can move a virtual camera within it. And so I don't know, like that's the thing where I'm kind of like, I do agree with a certain amount of with that level of involvement from performers, but after that though, I'm like, well, I don't know how much we need to see of it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, anyway, all that to say, go see Beetlejuice. It opened really well. I think it opened at like $145 million, which is great because its budget was $100 million. And so it's going to be top of the box office this weekend. I mean, our podcast comes out on Wednesdays, so the final numbers will be out tomorrow. But yeah, it's just nice that it like opened strong. It's doing well, and it's being, I think, for the most part, well received.
I don't think. I mean, it's funny because at least I feel Beetlejuice was immune to anything. Like, it got made. That's it. And honestly, I don't think we need a sequel. I don't think we need a Beetlejuice. I don't think we need it.
Oh, a third one? Yeah,
we don't need it. And if we do, it needs to be 30 years later. Like, I think we should probably keep the same pace that we're going. Like, just there's no reason to sort of heap on the sequel right now if they're going to do it. So yeah, honestly, this movie could have tanked and it would have been fine. So yeah, the fact that it got made, I think, is a kind of cool miracle.
Yeah.
And the fact that it isn't awful is great.
Well, it's that thing where it's just nice that all this good stuff is happening. Like, it doesn't have to overperform for a third to be made, and
I'm hoping at least that it doesn't make gangbusters where a third ends up getting made, even though it doesn't need it.
But yeah, it doesn't have to overperform so Tim Burton can work again. Like everyone involved with this it was already Gucci. Like, everybody was fine. It's just nice that it also was good, is performing well, and people like it.
Yeah. And also, I'm just happy that Catherine O'Hara continues to work.
Yeah, she's so great.
Seriously,
she's such a national treasure.
Put her in anything
of Canada, I guess.
Right? Yeah, I was like, she's their internet or their national treasure, but she's an international treasure for us.
I love her so much.
Seriously, and like, it's so funny that I think people are going backward and kind of recognizing how genius she was as Delia in the first movie. Because it's, as a child, I don't think I connected. I'd seen Beetlejuice a billion times as a kid, and I do not think I ever really connected that she was Kevin's mom in Home Alone until like I was way older, just because honestly they are such different roles,
right,
played by just a woman that is so different in those. She's incredible.
Such a big part of my childhood formative movie years. She's in a lot of the hits.
Yeah.
And I just love her so much. But go see that movie. It was really great. Moving on, I finally have an announcement to make. I was kind of waiting to announce this because it was supposed to happen last year and then it got canceled. But I think we're in like a good enough window that I can actually say this is happening. It could still get canceled. It's not for another 3 weeks, I think. But
okay, so now I actually do know what you're talking about.
I am going to be in Los Angeles for the first half of October. I will be there from the 1st to the 17th. House sitting for Rob's parents in Glendale, and I am very excited because I will be recording several episodes of the podcast without Rob. Sorry, babe. I love
it's okay.
But with all of my friends back in LA and some new friends, people I haven't even met yet, but going to do some new friends and some old friends because old friends are silver and
nope.
New friends are silver, old friends are gold. But I'm going to hopefully record enough podcasts to go for like 2-3 months because we're one podcast a week. I definitely am going to record like 10 or 11 with just friends and acquaintances and all your favorite stars.
All right. Don't make eyes bigger than podcast stomach. I think you're making a lot of promises right now.
Right. But I'm very excited. Also, it could completely get canceled at the last minute like it did last year, and I might not go at all. But I did want to say that I will be in LA recording a bunch of podcasts. So I only really have 3 or 4 podcasts with little Rob for the rest of the year, unless I paper him in. We might do a couple little updates in front of a guest interview. Like we could open me and Rob chatting, and then I could add the guest.
I mean, there's still
going
to be timely stuff that's happening to you.
Yeah, but if I pre-record 10.
I know there'd be timely things that you want to talk about. Otherwise, you're gonna have to just bank all that for months. That doesn't make.
That's
any
what I'm
sense.
saying. Like it could be all banked for until January, but I could also start with a little of us, and then I could go into my interviews.
Yeah.
Who knows? The world is my oyster for 2.5 weeks in Los Angeles, and I'm very excited. So get ready for lots of guests, lots of new faces on the pod, if the trip doesn't get canceled. We shall see. But having announced my announcement that I was so excited to announce, I think it's time to move on to our final segment, which is What's Your Order? What's Your Order?
I mean, should we just transfer it into the thing? Should we just make a moment of it?
Should we do a ceremonial transfer?
I mean, I think we could.
I think we could. Of all of our, thank you, Blue Rip and Dip shoebox filled with America's favorite restaurants and food days. We love you very much. You've been a constant in our podcast, but I think it's time to move on to the what's this called?
The handbook.
The handbook for the recently deceased from the Beetlejuice sequel.
It reads like stereo instructions.
Is it magnetized? No, it just snaps close.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, here I will be
Pour them in.
transferring. Oh, I wish I had like crane and saw and hammer noises. You know, like some construction sound effects.
I mean, that's what post is for. We'll fix it in post.
No, we won't. All right, we're in. All of them are now in the handbook for the recently deceased. Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the pod.
Give it a shaky shake.
All right. And I think it's my turn to choose, right?
Probably.
All right. So I will be reaching in, and today's What's Your Order topic will be potatoes. Beep, 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 beep. Wow, this is huge. This is a favorite food in our household.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever met a potato I didn't like.
And that's why I thought this was a great category.
Right.
Because there's so many different forms of potato. So many forms a potato could take.
We could do an entire podcast about potatoes.
I know. We'll do 10 episodes of breakfast, and then we can do 10 episodes of potatoes.
Oh, crap. Well, also just breakfast, or potato is different at breakfast than it is at lunch.
Right? That's
And
what
dinner.
I'm saying. This is a great category.
Oh, my God.
Now, you don't have to pick just one potato you could eat forever. I mean, we could even do subsections like French fries. We could do a whole episode on just fries.
There's a kind of potato that you can really only get at the fair.
What?
Like that spiral cut one that gets
the
fried.
giant spiral.
Like, anyway.
The one giant singular curly fry.
Which is just not that good. Let's just get that out of the way. That is all spectacle and not a whole lot of flavor. It's a lot of potato.
Yeah, it's a lot of fluff.
Yeah, a lot of spectacle, a lot of potato.
Well, it's kind of like, for me, those like mashed potato smiley faces that are only in California. Like, I've only ever seen them in California. Not potato olays, but like they're these like French fries that are in the shape of smiley faces, but they're actually like mashed potatoes that have been like formed and then deep fried.
Oh.
It's a California thing. You can only get it. I've only ever seen it in California freezer sections. Everyone is in their cars right now. We record this podcast on my phone, so I can't Google it. Rob throws his phone away for some reason. So
I don't want to be that guy who's on my phone in the podcast, because otherwise I know I will be.
We have no access to knowledge.
This is engagement farming. This is so we can get the comments or something. Just yell at us.
So yeah, I want to say they're like.
I'm imagining somebody that looks like a scrub daddy, but like smaller.
Yes, they look like scrub daddies.
Okay.
They're like the size of maybe a golf ball. They're flat. Ish.
Like a
they're
disc.
3D. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're okay.
They almost kind of look like funnel cakes.
It's almost like an
they're that
Oreo,
color.
like Oreo sized.
Yeah,
maybe?
I think that, or maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay, fascinating. It's funny because when you were describing it, I was imagining like a weird kind of almost like a waffle iron imprinted version of a tater tot. But now you're almost saying
these are like
a
fully mashed potatoes,
like a potato ball almost.
Formed into a thing and deep fried. So they're near the French fries in the freezer section.
That sounds kind of interesting.
They are advertised on television and billboards in Southern California, but like I'd never heard of them until 2006 when I moved to Los Angeles.
Crazy. I've never seen that. That sounds fascinating.
And I have no idea what they're called. So I'm sorry for everyone screaming in their cars right now.
Well, let's get into some potatoes.
I was going to say those were a lot of fluff as well, and not as good as I'd hoped they would be. Anyway.
Well, okay, so in order, actually, I feel like to efficiently cover this, we should probably just start at the beginning.
Which is?
Breakfast.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There's different kinds of hash browns. I would say at the end of the day, when it comes to breakfast potatoes, I either want a McDonald's hash brown, just a perfectly fresh, crispy, hot, salted McDonald's hash brown.
Yeah.
Which now I believe costs $48.
They're insane. I think they're $3 on their own.
They're so crazy. So I either want a fresh McDonald's hash brown, or I want, what are they, home fries? Like roasted potatoes. I just want cubed roasted potatoes.
You want like the cubey kind.
Possibly with peppers and onions.
Okay.
But like roasted in the oven. Just good old-fashioned roasted potatoes. Those are my two favorite breakfast potatoes. And then third is the shredded, like Waffle House hash browns that have to be cooked crispy. They get served, I don't want to say raw, but they will like lightly brown each side sometimes and send you like that patty of shredded hash brown.
Also, if they're too thick, then you get like, barely charred or barely, crisped on both sides, and then just like Play-Doh.
Yeah.
Just too
it's
much.
Like Play-Doh, yeah.
Too much.
So yeah, I love a good crispy hash brown.
Yeah, for breakfast for me, I'd say my ranking is probably the crispy grilled like, or the crispy long hash brown. I love that because I can mix in a runny egg into it and make a little bit of a hashy slop.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my jam there.
Rob likes to mix it all together and then put it on bread.
But yeah, like it's like the McDonald's hash brown, super special case when I'm hungry in the car and I can eat just with my hand. I love that. Like just especially I will drive through just to get a hash brown because that's like a 3-bite just hum nom nom and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
Love that. I do like a QB one, but it needs to be seasoned to death or very heavy onions and peppers in there. But anyway, yeah, love a breakfast potato. Approved.
Well, and also I can eat a McDonald's hash brown just raw dog in it, no sauce, but I also love a ketchup on it. And I love McDonald's ketchup on it, which is a very specific ketchup. Breakfast potatoes, I almost always have to have ketchup or hollandaise. Oh my God.
Happy hollandaise to you.
Luxurious and decadent is a breakfast potato dipped in hollandaise.
I will say my one beef with the McDonald's hash brown is after I eat it, I do feel like there's a weird coating in my mouth or on my teeth or something. Like there's something afterward.
Just McDonald's oil.
Yeah. But their super crispy Diet Cokes solve the problem.
Right?
They like
etch away at that film on the top of your palate.
They create the problem and they create the solution. So we're good in one stop.
Yeah.
Thank you, McDonald's. All right. Lunch potatoes.
I mean, French fries.
Well, also, you're a big chips person.
I do eat a lot of plain Lays. And
you are a potato chip man.
I saw a TikTok one time. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure plain Lays are like the #1 chip in the country. But people are like, who's eating plain Lays? And I'm like, me. I love them so much with a turkey sandwich, with a burger, and the best, a peanut butter and jelly with plain Lay's chips and a glass of milk. Oh my God, that is a lunch.
Well, and like plain Lay's are good to like stuff into a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like they're just good added to things.
I accidentally just pulled Rob's microphone cord and it almost like fell off the table and he almost lost it.
Well, it's all of a sudden like this shit got possessed. Do we need to call people from The Deliverance, that shit movie from last week?
Awful movie.
But
yeah, I love plain Lays. And I also love, but then I don't like wavy Lays. I mean, I'll eat them, but if I want riches, I'm going Ruffles.
Oh yeah. Well, I love like a kettle chip. I love like a
the
super crispy
Lay's kettle chips are
crunch
so good.
kind of chip.
Yeah.
But like it's funny because I'm not so much a chip person, but like I enjoy them when they're around. But I don't ever think to buy them. Although like I like Sun Chips apparently, but those are not potatoes, so we're not going to talk about those.
You know what I'll do if I'm just feeling extra, just fuck extra. I will dip a Lay's, especially a kettle Lay's, in mayonnaise.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Oh, yeah. I will join you in that. And then French fries. Approved. The only kind of French fry I'm not super into, I'd say, is probably a crinkle cut. But even then, I will gladly accept a crinkle cut in lieu of nothing.
Yeah.
But if you give me a choice between crinkle cut and any other, I will probably accept the other, or maybe even like a giant steak fry or like a wedge. I do like a wedge. It better be highly seasoned though. Like if you're gonna give me that much potato, you got to do something special.
Like the curly fries from Jack in the Box. Like you want them to be orange.
I mean, the potato wedges from KFC are actually really, really good wedges. They're also really narrow cut.
I've never seen an unseasoned wedge though. Wedges are always orange.
Well, sometimes they're too big.
They always have the seasoning.
If they get too big on the cut, then it's too much potato to breading. You know, but
the ratios are off.
Right, something's off here. But no, like I'd say my favorite French fry though is by far a Carl's Jr. waffle fry, formerly Chris Cut.
Yeah, they changed their name to waffle fries, as they should.
Their seasoned waffles, though, are just the best, and I think so few people order them that they're almost always fresh when you get them.
Yeah, they're so fresh, and they're so crispy.
They burn your mouth off hot. They're so good.
They are the best waffle fries for ketchup because you can hold the waffle fry in your hand like a little mini plate, and then you take a ketchup packet and you just ketchup packet it on top like you're frosting a cake, and then you just have that little canapé of waffle fry with ketchup, and it's so perfect.
Oh, and know what? They also go extremely well into a burger. If you want
because they're flat.
Yeah, if you want that extra little bit of crunch. And it's funny because it does make a burger bite sound like a Foleyed burger bite from a commercial.
The crunching of the lettuce and the french fry.
It gives you that crunch factor added to it. It's like, holy shit.
They're so good.
God, we need to drive to Carl's Jr.
Right?
now.
This is why I hate this city. I'm sorry, but Seattle has nothing. Okay.
But yeah, anyway, like a french fry, though, approved.
Yeah. What else? Oh, I will sometimes eat a sweet potato fry, but it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done a sweet potato fry because like sometimes they can be too sweet, and I'm like, I don't need that much sugar.
I need them cut with others, and I've actually mentioned my conditions before. I need like a 1 in 10 to be like a sweet potato fry, which that's strictly from the 101 Cafe in Hollywood. That's how I got used to sweet potato fries at like 2 in the morning.
My favorite are the sweet potato fries from Stout Burger on Cahuenga in Hollywood. Oh, they had the best sweet because you could get half and half.
Stout.
I miss Stout so much. You could get. Maybe I'll go when I'm there if it's still open.
You should.
If it's still open.
It was still there last time I was there.
But yeah, you could get half sweet, half regular mixed together, and that's a treat because then it cuts the sweetness of the sweet potato. But they come out just so hot and crispy and salty, and they're just so good.
That is
such
magical,
a refreshing fry.
Like I do know that shopping center in general, or like that shopping center, I think is doing fine.
Yeah.
The other larger one behind it's suffering a little bit.
Yeah, because it was like Stout and Big Wangs kind of occupying that strip mall.
But like Trejo's, I think, is single-handedly keeping that strip mall like
it's
going
in the corner
strong.
now, right?
Yeah, Trejo's Tacos, but it's like a double space.
Is Big
there,
Wang still there?
No, I think it's something else.
Maybe that's Trejo. Maybe he just took over the whole strip mall.
He didn't go that far down.
Oh, okay.
But there's also like another thing
But there was
fascinating talk, right?
Right. They had like developed that block of Cahuenga with like an Urban Outfitters and all these stores. It's all gone now. It's all like all boarded up.
So
and
like, they were some really big footprint stores that just didn't
people
get the
kind of
foot
just
traffic.
gave up on Hollywood, and it sucks because it was such like it was such a good part of town because it was like Amoeba, ArcLight, Urban Outfitters, all these great restaurants on the corner, all within walking distance, and a drive-through Jack in the Box, which one of the busiest intersections in the world, but it was nice to have a drive-through Jack in the Box.
I would say also it did feature somehow the scariest Jack in the Box in town, which was crazy given that like everything around it was so jumping. Although they did open a Jack in the Box just a couple blocks down that was super modern and very nice.
Yeah.
It's funny, we're talking about fast food in a different city that we have not lived in for 3 years.
It lives in our heart.
Yeah, it does.
But the other thing I was going to say, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I will dip a hot salty fry in mayonnaise. It's steak frites and like French fries with mayonnaise is one of my favorite combinations. I love them so much.
Seconded.
And there's I don't think there's any French fries from a restaurant that I hate. But there are French fries because we are air fryer experts, and we keep a lot of frozen French fries in our freezer.
It's true.
And the only ones I really hate are like the thin shoestring crispy ones,
which I love.
Which he loves. I love like a high school cafeteria crinkle cut. I love a steak fry. I love just a regular size fry. But Ore-Ida does like a super crispy shoestring. Almost, they're supposed to be like McDonald's fried knockoffs. But when you put them in the oven,
they're called like shoestring fast food fries or something.
But when you put them in the air fryer, they like dry out and get too crispy. And I'm like, it's too crispy. I don't want it.
Also, I might tend to over fry, but I like a crispy, crunchy fry.
Dry. You like a dry fry.
Yeah.
And I like a potatoy fry. So at home, I will get like the flat steak fries. I love those because they're a great vessel for mayonnaise and ketchup.
But it's super easy. We stay in our lanes.
Yeah. And we will keep multiple fries in the freezer for each other.
Yeah.
We also tried the waffle fries from Trader Joe's in the air fryer. Not that great. They're heavily seasoned and a good meaty waffle fry, but the seasoning is just off. It's not that good.
Yeah. So what, on to dinner? I feel like
on to dinner potato sides, which obviously mashed potatoes has to be at the top of the list.
Number one, like, or a potato puree if you want to get fancy and a little bit looser. But oh my God, mashed potatoes with or without gravy, I'm down. Instant potatoes, I don't care.
Yeah,
still good.
We don't really eat gravy with our mashed potatoes because we're big on the Bob Evans microwave bowl of mashed potatoes. They're so good,
super easy.
They're perfectly seasoned, lots of cream, lots of butter. Like they're really good.
Goes well with everything.
And you can have delicious restaurant style mashed potatoes in 5 minutes in your home. Like, just get them. But they're so well seasoned, you don't need gravy. The only time we really do gravy is besides Thanksgiving is when we do brown dinner, which we did a lot. We call it brown dinner. We did a lot of brown dinner in the pandemic because it was easy. We would get I think they're like Tyson pot roast and gravy microwave things.
Beef tips.
They're all in the same section in the grocery store, so you can just grab a whole meal. But we would do the pot roast and gravy microwave tray, and then the mashed potato microwave tray, and then the mac and cheese, the Bob Evans mac and cheese microwave tray. And then we just microwave everything, put it on a plate, use the gravy to cover it all, and then that's brown dinner. And it's so delicious. We just had it the other night.
Leftovers are great in a burrito.
Yeah. Because you can, and the perfect leftovers the next day.
Yeah.
And that's the only time we really do gravy other than Thanksgiving when we do the Williams Sonoma gravy.
Because that was a super comforting cry for help pandemic meal that just became like a regular meal.
Yeah, we
'Cause
would do
seriously,
brown
it's
dinner
so
like twice a
comforting.
week.
So good.
Because everything else was closed and everything else was sold out. No one was buying these like gravy trays, and they were always on sale, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, mashed potato, and then like mashed potatoes in like a steakhouse, like a fancy restaurant, like you said, the puree, when they do the puree instead of mashing. Oh, heaven!
I like a baked potato. I prefer a twice baked potato,
Which is just mashed potatoes in a jacket.
you know, but still so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love a potato skin.
Oh, now we're going to appetizers.
No, seriously, like I mean, this is dinner time.
Yeah.
Like we can do. I love a potato soup. Like seriously, I do a Olive Garden
Holland
potato.
Pepper, you stop naming potatoes.
I do a knockoff of that.
Yeah.
I like I'm down for a cold potato leek soup even. Like,
I'm not familiar.
they're delicious and refreshing. And I was actually kind of craving a cold soup during the summer, and I've never made one. But I do think a potato leek soup is super easy to make and
I've never
delicious.
heard of it being served cold. I thought it was. I've only ever had it hot.
But
yeah, potato
it's
soups.
strange,
Ugh,
but it's
like-
good.
Ruby Tuesdays and O'Charlie's, the cheddar potato soup, like the baked potato
baked
soup.
potato soup, yeah.
With their bread, their rolls. Oh my God, get inside me right now.
But yeah,
But yeah, I love a regular baked potato because I like just a meaty chunk of potato. I like that, especially covered in sour cream, butter, bacon, and chives and cheddar. Like I love a loaded baked potato.
The thing is, I miss like the cheese sauce era of like the late '80s, early '90s. Because like I remember going to like what was it, Carl's Jr. And I was such a weird kid. I would get like normal stuff there. But I would also literally get like, it was like a styrofoam, like a coffee cup. I would get it with a side of broccoli and cheddar. Because why not? Like they had really great cheese sauce, and I liked broccoli when it was covered in cheese. And I was a kid who
doesn't?
But I was a kid who was eating broccoli. I was like, why would my parents not get that for me?
Yeah, there was a lot of things I discovered in restaurants that were huge in other people's homes. They did not exist in our home, so I did not realize how popular they were. And one of them was putting cheese on broccoli.
Yeah.
That was not a thing in our home. And then when I saw other people doing it and like hearing about it in movies and going to friends' houses, and I was like, oh, this is a staple in a lot of people's meals. My mom just never did it.
Wendy's, very easy to do with their baked potato bar. And so yeah, I got very used to.
That's the other thing. I love a baked potato bar because you can just load it up exactly how you want it.
Right. So yeah, I got used to a lot of that kind of like conditioning there. But
what was I going to say? Oh, in England specifically, like as a street food, they do jacket potatoes, which are giant Idaho like russets that are baked potatoes, and then they'll cut them open and fill them with like baked beans and cheese. Like that's a classic English style. But jacket potatoes are very much an English street food that you can get everywhere.
I think I've seen the TikTok of that potato truck where like the first and last order are always free, and they always do like potatoes with beans and various stuff.
And like I think the traditional, like the number one on the menu is a cut open baked potato, and it's just like in tinfoil, like you would get at a steakhouse, but they're huge.
Giant.
They're huge. And they cut it open and they fill it with baked beans and I think cheese. And like that's the classic, like number one, everybody gets a jacket potato with baked beans, which I actually added to brown dinner the other night because I was like, I'm craving baked beans. So I got a little mini can and just ate the whole thing by myself.
Oh yeah, and my contribution to brown dinner was Texas toast.
Nope.
Wasn't it?
Crescent rolls.
Oh no, I remember I added a bread item.
If you ever need to just elevate a boring old midweek meal to the next level, get crescent rolls, y'all. Okay, you get for $2.50. You can get a roll of dough, roll them up, bake them. They're decadent and luxurious, and they just elevate any meal.
They take, what, 8 minutes?
Literally, you could feel like Martha Stewart after 8 minutes of baking some crescent rolls, and you're just like, look at me, I have fresh baked bread in the
Seriously,
home.
It'll take longer to put on your apron, and dust off your Donna Reed wig.
That was a last minute addition because I was walking out the door to the grocery store to go get brown dinner stuff, and you were like, hey, pick up a tube of crescent rolls, and I was like, okay.
Well, at first you're like, what? And I was like, or Grand's biscuits. I don't care.
said, and I was like, no, we're gonna do crescents.
I was like, I don't care. It needs to be like a fresh breaded item. I need a can that pops, kind of a thing. But I was like, I don't care. But I was thinking crescents first, and then I'm very glad that worked out.
So good. They were so good. Seriously, if you just need to make a fancy meal or make any meal fancy, add crescent rolls.
Right, so back to potatoes, though, or potatoes as we're known to call them. Oh,
I was going to say I love potato casseroles.
Yeah, I was like, we got to talk about a gratin here.
That's a different casserole. I was
like-
that's just gratin. That's not a casserole.
It's like I consider that a casserole.
Yeah, or au gratin, as we
Yes.
say in the Midwest.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I say potatoes au gratin, but I refer to the dish as a gratin when it's a standalone.
I was gonna say I've never heard you say that word.
That's funny because I refer to like I brought a gratin or it is potatoes au gratin.
I was gonna say because your stepdad Paul makes the best potatoes au gratin I've ever had in my life. They are luxurious.
It is the most like literally we will add that as a side to anything. It doesn't ordered pizza.
Back when we lived
potatoes
here,
au gratin.
Back
Who
when we
cares?
lived in LA with them, so we would have family dinner with them several times a year, and every time like, what do you want for your birthday dinner? Au gratin potatoes.
Yeah.
Paul's au gratin potatoes.
It's like, what do you want for the main? I don't care. Tacos.
It's pretty much
doesn't
just
matter.
sliced potatoes baked in heavy cream with cheddar and scallions.
It is
Green onions.
It is just the most decadent, creamy, cheesy.
Perfectly seasoned. They're so heavenly. They're so. We need
So
to just
good.
make those.
Right? Well, we learned. We
Yeah.
learned how.
Last time we were in LA, Paul
made a
taught
point.
us.
Because seriously, it's so good.
But yeah, I love au gratin potatoes, especially the homemade ones. When I was a kid, like my mom always got the quote unquote instant ones. I think they were like Betty Crocker or something. They come in a box, kind of like mac and cheese comes in a box, but they had.
Is it like dehydrated potato slices? Oh.
Yeah, and they had au gratin potatoes, shelf stable au gratin potatoes. I did not like them as a kid because I just wanted mac and cheese. I was like, I either want mashed potatoes or I want mac and cheese. Why are we doing this like weird reconstituted potato chip?
Right, I can
thing?
see as a kid, like that's a
did not
weird
like it.
cover, like weird mix of the Venn diagram that you don't want to have to go into. Probably,
But
it's
now,
unnecessary.
Sometimes for brown dinner instead of mashed potatoes, I'll get the like microwavable au gratin potatoes because they're equally as good. It's
very
just
good.
pure salt and cream, but who cares? They taste so good,
Right? Oh.
But what I was going to talk about is potato casseroles, which a lot of people call them like funeral potatoes. We
like
called them Bel Air potatoes.
like
People call them party potatoes, but it's the one where you take the little cubed hash browns, like the Ore-Ida freezer section. I think they're maybe called home fries, but they're little cubes, like maybe the size of a pea.
Oh, like a dice, like a teeny tiny, like a diced
They're
onion would be.
They're called hash browns, I think, but like
Okay.
they're frozen cubed potatoes, very tiny, and then it's like sour cream, cream cheese, heavy cream, cheddar cheese, and then that's the one that's always baked with cornflakes on top.
Oh,
Yeah, and so in
sounds good.
in Missouri, where I went to college in Cape Girardeau, we had restaurants that served, and they all called them Bel Air potatoes, and they were on the menu, and they're so it's such a luxurious flavor. It's such a good taste.
So when we first said potato casserole, I was thinking of a shepherd's pie.
That's not a potato casserole, but it's a casserole with potatoes on it.
Right? It's a casserole with potato lid.
Which
close enough.
is such a genius topper for a shepherd's pie too. It's like icing on a mashed potato cake.
But it's like it's like if you have no talent to make dough, it's like I can't make a crust to save my ass. I can spread potatoes on things though.
I don't know if the microphones are picking it up, but Ruby is barking her head off. I'm assuming you didn't close the barking curtains.
I did not.
Okay, we had talked about it before, but
But the windows were open. I didn't want them blowing. I figured she would still get in there and bark anyway.
But Ruby will bark out the windows in our living room unless we close the curtains, which we just call the barking curtains. And so you have to close the barking curtains or else she's going to bark. But it's funny because it's like turning off a dog television. Like if you close the barking curtains, then her TV's off and she can't yell at the news.
Well, and sometimes when I hear her bark, I just want to, pull an old Bram Stoker's Dracula. Oh, what music she makes.
Right. It's funny because I am the anti-barking dog or anti-barking dad, and Rob doesn't really care. But like as soon as she barks, I say her name and I tell her to get down and get out of the window because she'll like prop herself up in the window to bark. And so I always yell, "Get down!" I yell her name a lot. Well, now our neighbors all know her name, and people like we've never met, but they all know her name because they can hear me yell, "Ruby, get down!" when I'm barking or when she's barking out the windows.
Yeah, when he barks at her. So like people have just been like, "How's Ruby doing?" I'm like, "Oh, have you met? Oh, you've heard.
We can hear her name through the window when she barks at us.
Yeah. But it's fine. Like I usually let her go for a while, and then eventually I'll yell and she stops.
Yeah. It's also my biggest pet peeve is people that don't make their dogs stop barking. I just hate it.
I love when dogs get to be dogs, though. It's very cute. And I honestly, her bark doesn't annoy me that much. It's like It's like Braddock, our old pug. Her bark was adorable.
Oh my God, it was so it was like cartoon funny.
Seriously, like it was the most inoffensive.
It wasn't very loud.
Right. It wasn't annoying. It was just kind of funny.
That's the thing too. Ruby's bark is so biting and loud. Like it goes straight to your eardrum and just explodes your brain.
Ruby does have a booming voice. But yeah, Braddock, like seriously, I don't think I'd ever heard an animal where like when they barked, I was like, good for you. You tried your best.
Because there's like this one YouTube girl that I hate watch. Like I literally hate her, but I watch all of her content. And she has like a little poodle dog, which I also hate. And it barks through all of her videos and she never tells it to shut up. I'm like, tell your dog to shut up. You're recording a video. It's weird.
Okay. So by the way, just totally rando tangent here. Curious. Have you seen a reduction in this, or is this just me curating my feed better? I'm not hearing fire or smoke detector chirps in videos in the background like I used to anymore.
I only ever saw it as a joke on TikTok.
Oh my God.
Are like calling it out.
I felt like it was happening all the time. Maybe I stopped watching people do like long extended rants for like extended enough periods where you'd hear a chirp.
I've never seen it in like a long form YouTube video.
Oh my God, I feel like I heard them all the time in the background of just rando videos, but maybe that's just not a thing anymore.
Well, there is that one time in LA when our neighbors moved out of their apartment. It was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
They moved out of their apartment, so the landlord redid the floors or whatever and left the windows open so the floors could cure, and one of the smoke detectors was just dying, so it chirped for days. And it was Rob was first working from home because pandemic, and it was the apartment right across from his office window, and so it would just chirp nonstop. So I took it upon myself to go over there. I was like, if all the windows are open, the door's probably open. And I let myself in and I found it and I took out all the batteries and I felt like $1 million.
Well, and the weirdest thing about it was, cause this was the funniest thing. It was the sound through like the sort of alleyway that separated us and through like my blackout curtains that I had up all the time to sort of muffle sound and light. Yeah. It sounded like the little ding that happens when you select a game to play on the Nintendo Switch.
It almost was just at the base level of like, am I hearing something or am I crazy?
Well, and of course, at this point, we're playing Animal Crossing New Horizons daily because it's the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I like kept thinking, I was like, is Todd playing it on the TV just super loudly? Because I'm hearing the ding of someone selecting a game on the Switch. And then I realized like, no, that is actually just the very, very, very edge of this goddamn chirp, and it won't stop. And it happened like, I think I timed it. It happened every like 44 seconds. It was a very specific odd interval. And eventually like, I think we called the landlord and they were like, oh, sorry, nothing I can do. And that's when we were like, is the door open?
Something I can do.
Yeah. And
no, I didn't ask permission. We did not mention that at all.
But there was a later time, I think, when something happened though. And I actually called them and I was like, dude, you're killing me here. And we've already fixed this before. And that's when he was like, oh, go do this thing and it'll be fine. Because we had to follow up with him later on that. But yeah, that was, anyway.
There's nothing worse than a sound you can't find.
Seriously. Like, and I understand apartment living, like you're going to hear your neighbors, like that's a part of it. Like we get it. But when there's no one there, like it's one thing to hear your neighbors, it's another thing to hear their empty ass apartment chirping at you.
Oh, that was the thing too, because the apartment was empty, it echoed because there was no rugs, there was no furniture, there was nothing to absorb sound, so it would just beep and then echo, and it was torture.
And if they just shut those windows, it wouldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, it's because the windows were open.
Yeah.
So I think when I went over there, I shut the windows and I took it off the wall and moved it to the hallway and took the batteries out and stuff. But
anyway, yeah, this has been
anyway, back to potatoes.
Get off my lawn with Rob.
Back to potatoes. I would have to say, ultimately, I think we covered all the bases. I would have to say
we hit on everything.
Yeah, ultimately, I would have to say my number one potato forever is just going to be a French fry. Like whenever I have a lot of like stomach problems, you're like, what? No way. You eat Pop-Tarts and fried food all the time, and you have stomach problems. But I have a lot of stomach problems, and sometimes the only thing I can like eat that it sounds remotely stomachable is either Pop-Tarts or French fries, and so I would have to say my number one potato over chips. My number one potato is French fries.
It's funny. I mentioned them earlier, but also potato balls at
overrated.
I love them. I think the Porto's potato balls are amazing.
No, it was like when a movie is super hyped up and then you go see the movie and you're like, that wasn't that good.
Well, also
those potato balls were so hyped up to me, and then I finally got them at like a Easter brunch because my friend Chris waited in line for an hour to get them and he brought them to brunch, and I was like, oh my God, the famous Porto balls. I'm finally trying them, and they were not that good.
Well, I've always gotten Porto balls at Porto's. So maybe it's they're super fresh.
Maybe it's a super fresh thing.
But also, as somebody who does not care for mustard, therefore, the other thing they're known for is the Cubano sandwich. So, like, the potato balls are like my favorite thing because they're like the safest thing for me to eat there.
Yeah.
Just because everything they do is very Cubano centric. That and the cakes, which I don't eat a cake whenever I go there, so I usually buy a cake.
They do a lot of fruit on cakes, which is my nemesis.
They also do some chocolatey ass chocolate cakes, which are delicious.
The chocolate
and
cakes
very
are good.
affordable.
The chocolate cakes are good, but like
at least they were.
The white cakes, they always put a mound of like saucy berries on top.
They're
And
basically
like,
tarts by the time they're done.
Yeah, gross.
But no,
Get off my buttercream.
But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I'd say probably like certainly my most eaten potato is by far a French fry.
Yeah.
I think my favorite actually though is probably mashed potatoes. Just because they're a special treat.
You will swap a side at a restaurant quite frequently to mashed potatoes.
I do. Like I will swap fries for mashed potatoes.
Green beans? I'd rather have fries.
Oh yeah, like
I mean mashed potatoes.
it's like yeah, but the veg, swap it for the carb. Gimme. Love a mashed potato so much. Oh my god.
They're very delicious and comforting.
Yeah. Oh, what a fun. What's your order? I think we literally did like 20 minutes on it because potatoes are amazing.
Potatoes are king. And now we have to go eat potatoes in some form because I'm starving and they all sound delicious. So
right.
Let's go find some potatoes, eh?
Well, and we need to try that like fancy thing that we saw on like America's Test Kitchen or on TikTok.
I think they call them like custard potatoes or something.
Where it's like the billion little layers of super fine stuff.
And they kind of mash themselves on the inside and the outside is super crispy with like chicken broth and stuff.
Right, yeah. It's like mashy on the inside but crunchy on the outside.
All right, well... That's a perfect place to end, I think, because I'm starving, and I'm sure all of you are now starving for potatoes of some sort. So let's end this sucker, shall we?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for 5,000 listens on Spotify.
Yeah.
That was a really fun achievement. And keep liking and sharing and telling your friends and subscribing and all that good stuff.
And make the most of the time while I'm here. Enjoy me while it lasts.
Because I'm going to be in LA with all your favorite stars. Ooh, podcast to the stars.
But at least me going away like means you'll miss me for later, I guess.
Exactly. How am I going to miss you if you never go away? Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great week. We love you. Goodbye.